Found him alone, slumped over, no signs of injury, no cry for help, just a quiet end after what should have been a private moment of relief. And sadly, he's not the only one. Every year, thousands of older men make the same silent mistake, thinking masturbation is harmless, automatic, or irrelevant. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Done the wrong way, it can slowly erode your strength, your circulation, even your heart. And by the time the warning signs show up, it's often too late. I'm Dr. James, a men's health expert with over 30 years of experience helping seniors across America regain their vitality, intimacy, and self-respect. I've worked with war veterans, retired executives, farmers, pastors, and grandfathers who never thought this quiet habit could affect their blood pressure, their sleep, their memory, or their lifespan. But I'm here to tell you it does. Because the truth is, most men over 60 have no idea that certain masturbation habits they picked up decades ago, are now silently backfiring. Whether it's how you do it, or how often, why, or what you think about during it, these subtle choices could be draining your testosterone, damaging your prostate, and setting off a chain of health problems doctors often miss. And the worst part, most men don't talk about it, which means they never fix it. But in this video, I'm going to change that. I'll walk you through the 7 silent masturbation mistakes I've seen destroy men's health after 60 and show you exactly how to avoid them. No judgment, no shame, just science-backed advice that could add years to your life, restore energy to your body, and bring dignity back to this deeply personal part of your health. You'll learn why some men lose muscle despite exercising, why others suffer from night sweats, weak erections, or emotional crashes, and how one private correction could shift it all. And stay with me until the end, because the last mistake, it's the one even doctors rarely mention. Yet it's the #1 reason so many older men quietly lose their strength, desire, and life expectancy before age 80. If you care about your health, your independence, and the years ahead, this is the truth no one told you, but you deserve to hear. Let's begin. Before we go any further, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss important health advice that could protect your body, your energy, and even your future. And if you're finding this video helpful so far, type 1 in the comments to let me know you're with me. If not, type 0. Your feedback helps me serve you better. Now let's begin with the first and perhaps most dangerously overlooked mistake that's quietly putting countless older men at risk every single day: ignoring your cardiovascular limits. 1. Ignoring your cardiovascular limits. I'll never forget the look on his wife's face. A man in his late 70s, reasonably healthy, still active, still proud of his independence, was rushed to the ER after collapsing in his bathroom. His heart had gone into a dangerous rhythm after what should have been a simple moment of self-pleasure. No signs of trauma, no warning symptoms earlier that day, and yet that private moment triggered a silent cardiovascular storm. This is what I need you to understand. The older male body is not the same machine it was at 25 or even 50. After 60, your arteries stiffen, your heart works harder to pump blood, and your ability to handle sudden pressure changes, especially in moments of excitement or tension, dramatically decreases. And yet, too many older men still approach masturbation like a sprint. Fast, forceful, and with no regard for how their body is responding in real time. It's a dangerous mistake, because what feels like a short burst of pleasure could, in fact, become a hidden trigger for catastrophe. When arousal is combined with physical strain, holding your breath, clenching your body, or pushing yourself too hard too quickly, the spike in blood pressure and heart rate can set off arrhythmias, cause oxygen shortages to the brain, or in severe cases, lead to heart attacks or strokes, especially in men with undiagnosed or poorly managed heart disease. And the truth is, many seniors don't even realize they're pushing themselves. They mistake dizziness or shortness of breath for fatigue. They shrug off chest tightness or palpitations. They ignore what their body is whispering until one day it screams. This isn't about shame. It's not about stopping, it's about survival. You have to approach intimacy with the same mindfulness and awareness you'd bring to lifting weights or walking up a hill. Be conscious of your breathing. Don't clench or rush. If your heart feels like it's pounding out of your chest or you start sweating excessively, stop. That's your body telling you it's under stress, not excitement. And here's another thing I've seen again and again. Men who isolate, who don't talk to anyone about this, are the ones most at risk. They never tell their doctor they feel lightheaded after orgasm. They never admit that they once blacked out after standing up too fast. And because they stay silent, they stay in danger. Masturbation isn't inherently dangerous, not even in your 70s or 80s. But when you ignore your cardiovascular limits, you're playing with fire. Quiet fire. And sometimes that fire takes a life. Now, if that shocked you, it should. But we're only getting started, because what if I told you that the very thing most men use to help them feel pleasure again, the thing they think keeps them young, is actually draining their brain, their hormones, and even their motivation to live? Let's talk about the second silent mistake, one that's rewiring your mind every time you reach for it. If you're still watching and this message is resonating with you, type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're here and taking this seriously. Now let's continue with mistake number 2. It may be more damaging than you ever imagined. 2. Using pornography that overstimulates your brain. I want to speak honestly here as one man to another because I've sat across from too many older patients who quietly carry the same secret. They nod when I ask about blood pressure, cholesterol, prostate health. But when I gently ask about sexual habits, especially the use of pornography, there's always a pause. Then a look of discomfort. Then a quiet admission. I still watch it sometimes, doctor. It's the only way I can feel anything. And I understand. Truly, I do. You're not alone in this. As the years pass, it's normal for arousal to become less spontaneous. The body changes. Testosterone drops, nerves dull, and in this modern world, the easiest way to feel something again, fast, is to open a screen and flood your brain with images designed to trigger an instant reaction. But here's what no one tells you. That artificial intensity comes at a high cost. Pornography today isn't what it was 30 years ago. It's faster, louder, more extreme, designed to hijack your brain's reward system and overstimulate your dopamine circuits in ways natural intimacy never could. And for older men, this is especially dangerous. Why? Because the aging brain isn't as resilient. The surge of dopamine from overstimulating content doesn't just fade after the climax, it leaves a chemical crash. A numbness, a lack of drive, a growing dependence. Over time, this rewires how your brain experiences pleasure. You begin to need more stimulation to feel less. You lose interest in real connection, in conversation, in simple moments of closeness. Your sleep suffers. Your mood sinks. You may even feel less like yourself, irritable, restless, hollow. I've seen men fall into this cycle, alone in their rooms, day after day, chasing a high that never quite satisfies. And the damage doesn't stop at the brain. Chronic overstimulation from pornography has been linked to reduced testosterone, higher anxiety, delayed ejaculation, even erectile dysfunction. Some studies suggest that it may contribute to dopamine resistance, a state where natural joys like food, laughter, touch, and human intimacy no longer light up the brain. That's not aging, that's slow emotional suffocation. And it's not just physical, it's emotional, spiritual, it robs you of presence. It pulls you away from real people and deeper meaning. It replaces fulfillment with repetition, joy with habit. And most dangerously, it convinces you that this is normal. It is not. You deserve better than a screen. You deserve connection that breathes, intimacy that builds, and a relationship with your body that's rooted in awareness, not overstimulation. Now, this doesn't mean you must give up pleasure, but it does mean you must reclaim it on your terms with intention, not addiction. Because the longer you chase artificial highs, the more your natural energy, your life force, drains out. And if you think that's bad, wait until you hear what happens when you neglect the one organ most responsible for your masculine health. It's small, quiet, and often ignored, but when it goes bad, it can take your strength, your sleep, your libido, and even your independence. Let's talk about the third mistake, and it's hiding in your pelvis. 3. Neglecting prostate health. I remember one patient, Harold, who came into my clinic complaining of what he thought was just a little discomfort down there. He was 72, otherwise in decent health, but said he'd been feeling pressure in his pelvis, frequent urges to urinate, and some difficulty emptying his bladder. What struck me was his hesitation. He looked down as he spoke, almost embarrassed, as if acknowledging his prostate health somehow meant admitting weakness. But what Harold didn't realize, what many older men don't realize, is that neglecting your prostate can quietly steal your vitality, your sleep, and even your dignity. You see, the prostate isn't just some background organ. It's the center of your male biology, responsible for producing seminal fluid, supporting fertility, and even helping regulate certain hormones. But after age 60, it begins to change. It enlarges, it stiffens. It becomes more vulnerable to inflammation, especially if you're not taking care of it through mindful lifestyle habits. And yes, masturbation, when done correctly, can support prostate health. It keeps fluids moving, reduces congestion, and may even lower the risk of prostate cancer. But the mistake, most men fall into one of two extremes. Either they go weeks, sometimes months, without any stimulation, letting fluid build up and stagnate, or they go to the other extreme, doing it too frequently or with too much force, irritating the gland, exhausting it, and triggering inflammation. The result, a prostate that feels sore, swollen, or sluggish. You may notice nighttime trips to the bathroom becoming more frequent. You may feel pressure in your pelvis like something is pushing inward. You might even experience difficulty achieving or maintaining an erection, not because of testosterone or age, but because your prostate is struggling silently. This isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Chronic prostate inflammation can lead to benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH, a condition that affects millions of older men. Left unchecked, it can cause urinary retention, bladder infections, and even long-term kidney problems. Some men end up in emergency rooms with catheters placed because they waited too long to address the problem. And let's not forget the psychological impact. Prostate discomfort can rob you of confidence. It can make intimacy feel risky or unpleasant. It can cause shame, isolation, and a deep sense of fear that something is wrong, but you're too embarrassed to ask. Don't let pride get in the way of prevention. Check in with your body. If you notice changes in urination, pressure in your lower abdomen, or pain during ejaculation, don't ignore it. Talk to your doctor. Shift your habits. Hydrate. Eat anti-inflammatory foods. And most importantly, approach masturbation with awareness, because when done right, it can help your prostate. But when ignored or overdone, it can quietly lead you toward a slow, painful decline. Harold waited too long. By the time he addressed it, his prostate was double its healthy size. He's managing it now, but with medication, lifestyle changes, and a deep regret that he didn't act sooner. And sadly, Harold isn't alone. But prostate neglect is only one piece of the puzzle, because even if you're physically healthy, there's another trap many seniors fall into. It's not biological, it's emotional, it's invisible, and it's silently destroying health from the inside out. Let's explore the fourth mistake, and this one might surprise you. If you're still watching and these insights are hitting home, type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. Now let's move forward to mistake number 4, one that affects far more men than most will ever admit. 4. Using it as an emotional escape. He sat across from me with a tired smile, shoulders slumped, and eyes that had seen too much silence. David was 68, recently retired, divorced for over a decade. He lived alone. No children nearby, no close friends left in town. He said something I'll never forget. "Sometimes, Doc, it's the only thing I look forward to in a day. 5 minutes where I don't feel so empty." It broke my heart, but more importantly, it made something crystal clear. Masturbation wasn't his source of pleasure anymore. It had become his way of avoiding pain. And that's where the real danger lies. When older men use masturbation to escape rather than connect, it becomes a mask, not a medicine. You're not nurturing your body, you're numbing your spirit. The quiet moments of self-pleasure become a substitute for human connection, for purpose, for emotional release. And over time, this escape turns into a silent prison. Your brain learns to reach for the quickest fix when sadness creeps in. Instead of calling a friend, walking in the sunlight, or journaling your thoughts, you disappear behind closed doors. You stop processing emotion. You start isolating. You feel relief in the moment, but emptier afterward. And that emotional avoidance doesn't just affect your mental health, it rewires your nervous system. Science shows that using sexual stimulation to suppress negative emotions increases stress hormones like cortisol. That means higher inflammation in the body, weakened immunity, disrupted sleep, and even early onset cognitive decline. It becomes a loop. Loneliness leads to escape. Escape leads to disconnection, and disconnection accelerates the very aging we fear most. The tragedy is that most men never realize it's happening. They're not addicted to sex, they're addicted to relief. They've never been taught how to sit with grief, how to face the ache of time passing, or how to ask for support without shame. And that's what makes this mistake so insidious. It doesn't announce itself. It builds quietly, day by day, until you look in the mirror and no longer recognize the spark in your own eyes. You feel slower, sadder, and more detached, but you can't quite explain why. You might tell yourself it's just a habit. But if that habit is keeping you from healing deeper emotional wounds, it is not harmless. It is a slow erosion of self, one that may leave you physically intact but emotionally hollow. You deserve more than that. You deserve connection, laughter, presence, and purpose. If you're feeling lonely, speak it out loud. If you're feeling down, let someone know. Because no climax, no matter how intense, can replace a warm hug, a kind word, or a real conversation. But there's another mistake, one that's even more physical, more immediate, and shockingly overlooked. It has nothing to do with emotion and everything to do with the way you position your body and the damage it could be doing to your circulation and mobility. Let's dive into mistake number 5, and it starts with how you sit. 5. Masturbating without muscle engagement. There's something many men don't realize. Something I've seen firsthand in my patients over and over again. They come to me complaining about weak legs, numbness in their feet, poor balance, or loss of sensation in their lower body. Most assume it's just aging. But when we talk more deeply, when I ask about daily habits, routines, even intimate ones, a silent truth often surfaces. They've been spending far too much time pleasuring themselves in physically harmful positions, slouched, hunched over, twisted, or lying flat with their muscles completely disengaged. Now, I know this might seem like a small thing. You might be thinking, come on, Doc, how I sit when I do it really matters that much. Yes, it absolutely does, because the way you position your body during these moments directly affects blood flow, nerve function, and long-term muscular health. When you're in your 30s or 40s, your circulation can compensate. Your tissues bounce back. Your pelvic floor still activates without much thought. But after 60, blood vessels stiffen, nerves are more vulnerable, and muscles, especially the ones that support intimacy, start to weaken without use. If you spend those private moments in a collapsed, compressed position, you are starving your lower body of the blood and oxygen it needs. What does that lead to? A cascade of issues you might already be noticing. Reduced sensitivity, erectile dysfunction, tingling in the legs, cold feet, increased risk of blood clots, and eventually the slow decline of pelvic floor strength, which is crucial not only for sexual function, but also for bladder control, posture, and even walking stability. One of my patients, Mark, said he hadn't been able to stand for long without leg pain, but after correcting his posture during masturbation and incorporating light pelvic engagement, he regained stamina and reduced numbness within weeks. He couldn't believe the connection until he felt it. This isn't about making it complicated or clinical, it's about being aware. If you're sitting, keep your hips open. If you're lying down, avoid compressing your lower back. Activate your glutes lightly. Breathe deeply. Stretch afterward. You don't need to turn it into a workout, but you do need to respect the physical body that supports your intimacy. Because if you don't, the price is not just a little stiffness, it's the slow shutting down of the very systems that allow you to feel pleasure, move confidently, and live independently. Every position, every habit, every repetition is a choice, and that choice can either nourish your aging body or break it down a little more each day without warning. But if you think posture is the only danger, there's another mistake that happens after the climax, one that too many men ignore, brush off, or dismiss as just being a little tired. And this mistake, it's the one that's sending more seniors to the emergency room than you'd ever expect. Let's talk about the sixth mistake, one that hits hardest in the quiet moments right after pleasure. 6. Suppressing after-orgasm fatigue signals. I can still hear the panic in his wife's voice when she told me what happened. Her husband, 74, had just finished his shower after a private moment of pleasure. He walked out of the bathroom, pale, unsteady, holding the wall. Moments later, he collapsed. No prior history of heart disease, no warning, just gone. I've seen this more times than I care to count, and in most cases it starts with the same overlooked moment, right after climax. After orgasm, the male body enters a vulnerable state. There's a natural dip in blood pressure, the heart rate slows, blood shifts throughout the body. And in seniors, where circulatory and neurological systems are already more fragile, that moment of physical surrender can become incredibly dangerous if ignored. But what do most men do? They get up too fast. They skip the water. They shake off the dizziness. They tell themselves, I just need to sit down, when in reality their body is screaming for recovery. When you push through that fatigue, or worse, rush to clean up, shower, or dress without giving your body a moment, you're playing roulette with your cardiovascular system. You risk fainting. You risk dangerous falls. You risk triggering arrhythmias that can send you straight to the hospital, or worse. Many men don't know that a sudden drop in blood pressure combined with dehydration is one of the leading causes of bathroom-related falls among seniors. It's not just slipping on the floor, it's what happens inside your body that takes you down. This isn't about being fragile. It's about being wise. You've lived long enough to know the importance of listening to your body. So when your system tells you to rest, rest. When your pulse feels uneven, don't brush it off. When your head feels light or your vision swims, don't tough it out. Instead, pause, sit, breathe deeply, drink water, let your body recalibrate. These few simple minutes may be the difference between standing tall tomorrow and being rushed to urgent care tonight. And the consequences of ignoring this aren't always immediate. For some men, the damage adds up silently. Small stressors on the heart, repeated dips in oxygen levels, minor incidents that gradually erode resilience. Until one day, the body simply can't bounce back. So don't let pride cost you what awareness could protect. That moment after pleasure is sacred, not just for your emotions, but for your safety. But the biggest threat of all isn't physical. It isn't even hormonal or emotional. It's something far more dangerous. Something men don't talk about, don't acknowledge, and don't seek help for. And because of that silence, it steals more than health. It steals life. Let's look at the seventh and final mistake, the one hiding in plain sight, buried beneath decades of shame. 7. Letting shame dictate silence. I once had a patient named Gerald, 78 years old, strong-willed, ex-military. He'd faced war zones, raised 4 children, built a life from nothing. But when it came to talking about his body, his pleasure, his private habits, he fell silent. I could see it in his eyes, the fear, the embarrassment. "Doc," he finally said, almost whispering, I've never talked to anyone about this. And that right there is the most dangerous mistake of all, letting shame keep you silent. You see, many men over 60 were raised in a world that taught them to hide this part of themselves. They were told real men don't talk about sex, that masturbation was dirty, that their desires were something to be buried, not explored. So they carried that silence like a weight, year after year, decade after decade. The problem is that silence doesn't protect you. It isolates you. It keeps you in the dark when your body starts to change. It keeps you guessing when things go wrong. It convinces you that pain, dysfunction, or confusion is something you have to suffer through alone. And in that isolation, real harm begins to grow. Because when men feel too ashamed to ask questions, they miss critical warning signs. They don't get screened for prostate issues. They don't mention pelvic pain or changes in erection quality. They don't report post-orgasm dizziness or emotional numbness. And the longer they wait, the more damage builds beneath the surface, until it becomes irreversible. Shame also feeds emotional suffering. It turns normal curiosity into guilt. It transforms pleasure into secrecy. It disconnects men from their partners, their doctors, and even themselves. And the result is devastating, not just to the body, but to the spirit. I've seen marriages strained because a man was too ashamed to admit he was struggling. I've seen widowers spiral into loneliness because they felt they had no right to seek comfort in their own body. I've seen depression, sleep loss, anxiety, all rooted in the belief that they couldn't talk about something as natural as self-pleasure. But here's what I want you to hear, clearly, powerfully, and without hesitation. There is no shame in taking care of your body. There is no shame in asking questions. There is no shame in wanting to feel alive. You've made it this far in life. You've endured hardships, outlived fear, adapted to change. Don't let outdated beliefs rob you of the vitality you still have. Speak up, ask your doctor, talk to a friend, watch videos like this one. You're not alone. You never were. Because when men finally break that silence, something incredible happens. They begin to heal. Not just physically, but emotionally. They gain clarity. They regain confidence. And for many, it's the beginning of a new chapter, not the end. So don't let shame shorten your life. Let knowledge, awareness, and courage lengthen it. And now that you've seen the 7 masturbation mistakes silently harming older men, there's one final thing I need to share. It's the most powerful truth I tell every patient who walks into my office. Something that could change how you see your body, your pleasure, and your future from this day forward. Let's talk about it. Conclusion 7. Masturbation mistakes that silently ensure many elderly people won't live past 80. If you're still here, that tells me something important. You care. Not just about pleasure, not just about avoiding discomfort, but about taking real ownership of your health and your future. And that already sets you apart. We've covered a lot in this video, and some of it wasn't easy to hear. These aren't the kinds of conversations most doctors are having with their older patients. Frankly, many avoid them. But I've learned after more than 30 years in this field that the unspoken topics are often the ones quietly doing the most harm. And this one, how older men handle self-pleasure, might be one of the most neglected and misunderstood. Let's quickly revisit what we've uncovered. The first mistake was ignoring your cardiovascular limits, approaching masturbation like you're still in your 20s, pushing your body past what your heart, blood vessels, and lungs can safely handle. In those moments of high arousal, your body isn't just experiencing pleasure, it's undergoing real physiological stress. And if you're not careful, it can turn into a life-threatening event in seconds. Then we looked at the second mistake, using overstimulating pornography to feel something again. It's understandable. When your natural response is dulled, the temptation to turn to louder, faster, more intense content is strong. But that kind of stimulation hijacks your brain's reward system, drains your dopamine, and leaves you emotionally and hormonally depleted over time. The third mistake is one that too many men only realize after it's too late: neglecting your prostate. That small gland is the cornerstone of your masculine health. Letting it become inflamed, overworked, or stagnant can lead to urinary problems, infections, and even cancer. And the heartbreaking part, most of the early signs are easy to miss if you're not paying attention. We then explored the emotional side in the fourth mistake, using masturbation as an escape. I see this all the time. Men who are lonely, grieving, or stuck in the quiet routines of retirement start using pleasure not for enjoyment, but to numb what they don't want to feel. And when that becomes the pattern, it not only deepens emotional disconnection, it harms physical health too. Hormones shift, cortisol rises, joy fades. The fifth mistake was physical, but easy to miss. Masturbating without muscle engagement. Sounds trivial, I know, but posture matters, circulation matters. If you're hunched over in silence, starving your lower body of blood and oxygen, you're slowly weakening your legs, your pelvic floor, your intimacy, and even increasing your risk of nerve damage and blood clots. That brings us to the sixth mistake, suppressing after-orgasm fatigue. The moments right after climax are not the time to rush to the bathroom or jump in the shower. Your heart rate drops, your blood pressure shifts, and if you don't take a moment to rest, hydrate, and allow your body to recalibrate, you're flirting with fainting, dangerous falls, or worse. And finally, perhaps the most important of them all, the seventh mistake, letting shame dictate silence. This one breaks my heart. So many men have been conditioned to keep this part of their lives hidden, buried, even punished. And in that silence, they suffer, physically, emotionally, spiritually. They don't get help when they need it. They miss the chance to be educated, to connect, to heal. If any of these mistakes sounded familiar to you, I want you to know something. There is no shame in learning, there is no shame in changing, and there is absolutely no shame in caring for your body, especially now. You've made it to this stage in life. That's not a small thing. You've earned the right to experience intimacy with wisdom, with grace, and without fear. But it takes courage. It takes reflection. And yes, it takes action. This video wasn't meant to scare you, but to wake you up. Because the habits we think are private, small, or meaningless can actually be the ones that shape how we age, how we feel, and how long we stay alive. I want you to leave this video not with guilt, but with clarity. Not with worry, but with the motivation to do better. For yourself, for your health, and for the life you still have ahead of you. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one of the 7 mistakes that resonated most. Just one. And make a change. Slow down. Sit differently. Talk to someone. Pay attention to how you feel, not just physically, but emotionally, before and after. And if you found value in this conversation, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend, a brother, a partner. We don't need more silence. We need more support, more truth, more conversations like this. Because I truly believe this, your best years can still be ahead of you, but only if you protect what matters most. Not just your body, but your awareness, your courage, and your willingness to keep growing. You're not too old. You're not too late. And you're definitely not alone. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for more honest health advice that's actually made for people like you. And if you've stayed with me to the end, I'd love to know, did any of these mistakes surprise you? Type "I'm still learning" in the comments below, and let's continue this conversation together. Your health matters, and you matter. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.